Mother and father ran into the woods, leaving the burning buildings behind them. Leaves and twigs were left crushed in their wake. The couple's desperate run through the dark void found them in front of a large waterfall. All noises of the forest were drowned out by the crashing falls. However, the screams broke through the erupting sound. Pleas to spare their lives echoed through the wind, begging the monsters to spare their homes and children. The response? A torturous end to all they keep dear. "There's no way they followed us," said Carrie. "They were too busy dealing with the others." The woman wept a tear as she put her hands together for a prayer for her fellow neighbors. "Come on," said Eli. "We're not safe yet." The woman shook her head and placed her hands back around the baby, wrapped in a makeshift hammock from a dirty blanket. Eli and Carrie stepped into the chilling river as freezing liquid rushed around their feet. With no hesitation or mind to the temperature, they ran across the river. "Abandoning your fellow man," said Mephido. "You really haven't changed." Horror spread across the faces of Eli and Carrie. Carrie immediately covered the baby in the blanket. They turned to see a being, donning a large purple robe, floating above the water. Purple mist poured from beneath the cloak. Eli and Carrie slowly walked out of the frigid water and towards the figure. "It's so sad you still just run from your problems," said Mephido. "How can you even say that?" said Carrie. "You're the freaks who ravaged those—" "Carrie!" said Eli. "That's enough. Don't wind him up. Look, she died a few weeks after we left and came here. There's nothing here for you, Lord Mephido." "How did it die?" said Mephido. "Of illness," said Eli. "As I'm sure you saw, that little town was anything but luxurious. It lacked effective health care." The hood of the robe shifted towards the bundle of blankets in Carrie's arms. She was desperately trying to hide it under her arm. Mephido let out a small chuckle. "It's just some personal items we brought with us when we fled," said Carrie. "Then by all means," said Mephido. "Remove it." Carrie was desperately shaking. Her weary hand slowly pulled the blanket off the sleeping baby. A bony hand arose from the sleeve of the hood, revealing a long, sharp dagger. Mephido approached her. "Look, Lord Mephido," said Eli. "She's not moving." Mephido stopped in his tracks. "We couldn't stand to leave her body behind," said Eli. "We wanted to make her a proper grave." Mephido stood still and turned around. "Gardax, Pharaxia," said Mephido. "You two done already?" Mephido continued to stare towards the dark forest behind them as two more figures arose from the shadowy woods. A long, dark blue beast with the head of a bull, and a woman with a transparent body engulfed in flames with the head of a phoenix. "Of course we are," said Gardax. "It took very little to break their desire to live, let alone fight." The arrival of two more monstrous beings made Carrie and Eli panic even more. The comment the large bull made certainly didn't help, cementing their dread even further. The phoenix-headed woman glared at the couple. Then she spoke. "Not even I could even fathom why someone would try to leave the Key of Gond." "Indeed," said Mephido. "Especially such devout members." Eli gripped his hands and blurted out uncontrollably, "Because those rituals were abominable!" "The innocent lives," said Carrie, "all begging and screaming, only to be met with agony and death. It was repulsive!" Carrie's cry fell on deaf ears. The three beings looked more annoyed than regretful. "What truly is repulsive," said Gardax, "is your selfish insolence in running away with that child." "You know as well as we do," said Pharaxia, that child has an essential role to play in the ultimate design of the Foundation." "So what?" said Eli. "I know back at the Foundation you have your own offspring. Would you really look me in the eye and tell us you would just stand there and let your child be offered to them?" "Absolutely," said Mephisto. The glory of our gods is never-ending, but it's held down by a disgusting power. Be it a human or another deity, their sacrifices are all essential to obtaining their freedom once more. Your daughter is the last piece we need to bring forth a new world birthed by our gods, where weakness is a concept erased from reality itself. For such a wonderful world, I would bring forth the lives of 1 trillion children!
Your gods are nothing but bastards!
Cried Carrie. The three monsters glared in anger. Mephisto pointed directly to the sleeping baby in Carrie's arms and continued floating forward much faster.
No,
said Eli.
She didn't mean that. We're incredibly sorry, Lord Mephisto.
Mephisto continued.
I already told you she's not alive, said Carrie. There's nothing here you want.
I'm tired of this game, said Mephisto. It's an insult to our foundation. One I cannot and will not forgive. Mephisto raised his dagger and slashed the blanket bundle. Immediately, a few drops of blood stained the blanket, and the once sleeping baby was now bawling in pain. Mephisto saw through the couple's ruse.
Becky!
Screamed Carrie. Eli, in fury, pulled out a handgun from behind his pocket that he was holding onto this whole time. He knew it was pointless to use it against beings beyond the notion that govern reality, but if it served as a distraction to help Carrie get away with Becky, it was worth it. However, he was sorely mistaken. Before he could even raise it to aim, Phyrexia mystical powers of fire burned the weapon to ash. Eli was truly helpless. Behave yourselves, foolish creature, said Mephisto. Mephisto grabbed Becky from her mother while slapping Carrie to the floor. Restrain them, said Mephisto. I decree this punishment far worse than death. Thus they shall watch as their child dies, as the power needed to free our gods is extracted. Phyrexia held down Carrie and held her mouth shut, while Gardax did the same to Eli. Both of them were unable to scream as tears rushed down their faces, which were contorted in horror. Soon will come the time of your omnipotence, said Mephisto, as the filthy almighty power that once locked you away will be used to free you. You will once again come to us, our glorious gods! Becky was crying uncontrollably. As Mephisto raised his dagger, ready to extract this supposed power from within the baby, Eli and Carrie struggled and screamed at the worst possible thing they could ever imagine. Gardax and Phyrexia laughed in glee, happily seeing the plans of their entire foundation come to fruition. A new world was on the horizon. Begone! A massive laser of unfathomable might erupted from the dark void within the woods, shooting out towards Mother and Father. The crimson almighty arrow struck Phyrexia. She was immediately met by the touch of oblivion. Cracks of crimson light erupted from her body, shattering her form in an instant. Massive rays of energy swirled and beamed from within the point of the arrow, swirling and dancing in a fantastic spectacle of light as existence itself distorted and warped. The ripples across reality surged out towards Gardax, expunging him from existence as well. Before Mephisto could even react, something leapt from where the arrow was fired. A figure lunged forward, snatching the baby from his arms, and jumped over his head, landing in front of both mother and child. "It's you," said Mephisto. "Anti." The figure gave the baby to Eli and turned around to face Mephisto. He donned a long red cloak with long sleeves. Underneath, he wore a puffy white undershirt matching the color of the tufts of fur around the edge of his sleeves. He wore dark beige pants with long brown boots. The being had a cylindrical head with a crimson eye. Atop its head was a large hat with a point that curved down with a star-like gem in the center of it. "So, these are the all-powerful elite members of the Key of Gond," said Anti. "My, what a letdown." You filthy tarragons, said Mephido, always interfering. It's no matter. I'll kill you and undo everything you have done to our gods.
You seem pretty confident, said Anti, considering how badly your colleagues were just obliterated.
I can do anything, said Mephido.
With the love for my gods and their undying will to save us, I am unable to lose!
You sad, delusional fool, said Anti.
All right then, entertain me. Anti put one of his hands behind his back and raised the other forward. From his palm, a glowing crimson sword was formed, lighting up the darkness around them.
One arm, said Mephido. Do you want to die that badly?
Laughed Anti.
Prove yourself worthy of two.
Mephido angrily charged towards Anti, slamming his dagger against Anti's blade with all his might. Anti sidestepped the attack, causing Mephido to stumble forward. Anti then kicked Mephido in the side, causing him to fall to the ground. Mephido jumped back up with a blinding speed, unfathomable to Carrie and Eli. He leaped around, charging at Anti with a dagger in hand, slashing in ferocious succession. Anti held his blade, parrying each stab and attack. Blades clashed together. The red glowing sword danced in the night air. Mephido jumped and lunged from every angle, only to clash against Anti's blade. Mephido jumped over Anti and landed behind him, bringing his blade forward. Instead of blocking, Anti moved to the side, the blade inches from his body, Mephido's arm in front of his face. Anti faced towards Mephido's dagger and raised his arm, gripping his blade, severing Mephido's hand while spinning around and kicking Mephido to the floor with his heel.
Your gods are nothing but demonic scum, said Anti, and you're no better for enabling their desires through such torturous means.
They will save us, said Mephido. They will save me! Mephido raised his sleeve where his hand once was, and a stream of purple mist blasted out towards Anti. The mist corrupted and decayed everything in its path. The mist passed through with no effect. Around Anti, his body was distorting across reality, as if existence itself was protecting him from the effects of the mist. The mystical power over reality altered the mist, turning it into nothing but small leaves that fell to the floor.
This is impossible, said Mephido.
How do you have this much power? Anti raised his hand, and a small orb of golden energy shot out like a missile, striking Mephido. The golden power sealed his own strength and abilities. Mephido collapsed to the floor.
No, said Mephido.
Anti grabbed Mephido's robe and pulled him up face to face.
You're unforgivable, said Mephido. Our god's freedom is nigh. The perfect world is nigh.
You and all the weak-willed non-believers will face nothing but non-existence. What do you have to say to that, Tarragon? Answer me!
Nihility arrow, said Anti.
No,
Before Mephido could finish his sentence, he was ripped apart by the same attack that destroyed Gardax and Pharaxia, the beam ripping Mephido asunder. The three cultists were simply erased from time and place.
Oh my goodness, said Carrie. Thank you. Thank you. You saved my baby. Carrie ran up and collapsed towards Anti in something similar to that of a hug. Yeah. Don't mention it, said Anti.
When we realized that Becky was your prophet, said Eli, we knew we would meet. I suppose our job is finished.
Eli and Carrie were still shaking, barely keeping themselves from breaking down and crying. Becky was fast asleep in the bundle of blankets. Anti's reality-distorting powers seemingly healed the wound from Mephido's dagger. I was able to find you guys the moment I sensed such powerful beings suddenly arrived on Earth, said Anti.
Damn cultists.
No, we're no better, said Carrie. We did the same things to all those innocent people. They were nothing but fuel for us, for those damned gods.
We have no right to be saved by
Tarragon of all people, said Eli. I'm not too keen on forgiving people who kill for their own sick pleasures and desires, said Anti. However, I think I can make an exception. I'm no stranger to regretting your past, and without you, the power I blessed Becky with would have been used to free those cursed gods. Anyway, I can take Becky now and watch over her to ensure she's safe from any other cultists. However, she is your daughter, so the choice is yours. Please, take her, said Carrie. Not only will she be truly safe, but we have something we have to do. Something that might prevent us from being able to stick around with her. Are you sure you want to do this? Said Anti. I'm sure I can help. Anti, said Eli. Please. Tarragons are beings who were born to spread happiness to all, right? Yeah, said Anti. But then please, interrupted Eli. Let us stop the pain from our past. Whatever you plan to do, said Anti, just know that once Becky and I reach our goal in the distant future, happiness will be felt by everyone. And maybe then you can see her once more, as a family, even if I need to go and get you from where you must go. Thank you for such an offer, said Eli. Just, please, give us a moment. Eli and Carrie stood together, placing their faces next to Becky's, sobbing and holding her as tight as possible. My little girl, said Carrie. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say to you. We love you so much more than you know, said Eli. We have to go. But please, never stop bringing happiness to everyone you meet. Undo everything your horrible parents have done. Carrie took Becky and, while still sobbing, handed her to Anti. I promise that with Becky, said Anti, this world will come to know true happiness. Farewell. Anti turned away from the couple. He tipped his hat down, covering his eye. He felt an all too familiar sorrow. The past bit him once more. Anti snapped his fingers and purple energy began to swirl and form a void that sucked in and teleported Anti and Becky away from the forest. Eli and Carrie began climbing up the large waterfall, having wiped the tears and snot from their faces. They both stood atop the edge of the waterfall. Both continued to keep looking down at the pitch-black floor of the forest. Well, said Eli with a small smile, think about it like this. Becky's gonna make up for every horrible thing we've done in that cult. We made her, so it's kind of like we did that, huh? His face and eyes were still red from sobbing. Carrie let out a small chuckle through her sniffling. That's a funny way to think of things, said Carrie. Carrie and Eli held hands and smiled. Then they took a single step forward.